So everyone online is always claiming that landing a remote job is pretty easy. You just need to apply, wait for an interview, and that's it. And years ago when I started applying for my remote job, I thought that due to the lack of demand, it was going to be easier than nowadays. I was wrong. So I'm going to tell you what actually took me to become first a virtual assistant and now a remote worker. This isn't the Polish version. This is actually what happened. Welcome everyone, I'm Val. Let's start from the beginning. So for me, it started in 2021. Some of you may already know it, but I basically quit university in my country and I started working in a call center in Colombia. So skill A. Back then, I spoke 2 languages. Spanish, of course, that is my mother language, and English. But if you ever been in the call center industry, you know that's a very consuming job. So I was going insane with that work and I was looking for other ways to make money, good money, without having a title. One day I saw a post in Instagram, a video from a content creator in Colombia on how to become a remote worker using the platform Upwork. We've all seen those kinds of posts, those kinds of reels, and probably many of you have already heard about Upwork. I saw her video and was like, okay, I want to try and do this because I'm going insane in the call center. So basically I started creating my profile in Upwork. Back then it just asked for your name, some basic information, and for you to create a bio. Her video had a bunch of tips on how to create a proper bio for Upwork, and one of the tips I heard, and probably you have already heard it before, is think of all the skills that you already have and that you may be good at, even if you don't have any experience. So I did. Basically back then I had worked in a call center and with one of my cousins, so I am very tech savvy, and I had developed a bunch of computer skills that include managing Microsoft, Google, even some edition for images and videos. So I thought of all of that and I tried to put it in nice words into a biography. Back then I think AI hadn't started yet, and even if it did, it was not such a known tool as it is nowadays, so it was just you sitting with your head, your skills, and trying to put it in the best words possible. Upwork has a bunch of articles, tutorials, and things that will teach you how to use the platform. Back then I didn't even know what to work as. I just knew I wanted to work as a remote worker in Upwork and I wanted to get out of my FN call center job. But actually one of my cousins told me, like, why don't you try being a virtual assistant? I've heard the payment is good and for many of the jobs as a virtual assistant you don't need experience. I was like, why not? So with the search engine in Upwork, I started looking for the word virtual assistant. So the other thing I just needed to do was open each job posting and start applying. If you've never been to Upwork, once you try to apply to a job, there is something that you need to fill out, and it's the cover letter, which is basically a presentation letter that you put to the person that is posting the work to tell them who you are, but also what is your experience related to the job post. So back then I had to learn how to draft cover letters. I believe Upwork also has an article on that with a bunch of tips. Basically, you have to introduce yourself, make sure to read the entire proposal, because sometimes, especially now in the AI era, people put random tricks or stuff to make sure that you read the entire proposal or the entire job post. Like, write banana
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
at the beginning of your cover letter if you read this whole thing. Stuff like that. And basically try to describe your entire job experience or the skills that are related to the job posting as best as you can. Right now with AI tools, you can ask Claude or ChatGPT to help you put it in a nice phrasing or something that is calling. But my tip regarding that is also that you read whatever the AI inputs instead of just copying and pasting, because the recruiters are also using AI to check if your curriculum or if your cover letter was made with AI. Some of them like that, some of them don't. Back then, I drafted my cover letters using the tips this lady said in that video and Upwork's article on how to write proper cover letters, and that's it. I applied. Did I land a job on my first application? Absolutely not. I had zero experience as a virtual assistant and working in general, because less than a year in the call center and some months with my cousin being his assistant doesn't exactly count as experience. Nowadays, I have 7 years of being a project manager and virtual assistant on my shoulder, so that changes things. So what did I have to do? Be consistent. It's a matter of numbers, literally. And probably you've also heard this phrase before, but let's be realistic. Landing a remote job or any job in general is not just about you selling yourself properly in your curriculum. It's also about applying and applying. And that's exactly what I had to do back then. Like, I spent, I believe, 2 months applying every single day to every single virtual assistant job post I found in Upwork. I was doing a full-time job as an agent in the call center, so I didn't stop taking calls. But in my free time, breaks, and all of that, I was looking for posts in Upwork and applying to them. Upwork also works with a matter of references. So if you don't have any reference or anything in the platform, it's harder to land a job. You have nothing to back you up. But since, like I said, this is a matter of numbers, eventually I found someone that gave me the opportunity to be my first boss.
Everything that I've had, praise the Lord.
I landed a job as a part-time virtual assistant for a lady that had a small company and dedicated herself to do SEO stuff and Google Maps marketing. Made sure businesses appear on the first places of Google Maps whenever you search for them. So back then, I don't even remember how much I was charging per hour, but let me tell you, it was really cheap. But somebody had finally gave me the opportunity of working in there. It was a part-time job though, so I couldn't quit the call center yet. And I believe I've already told this in this channel, that back then the opportunity of traveling just came to me thanks to one of my closest friends. And with that on the table, I was like, okay, I need to land a real remote job, otherwise I won't be able to travel. I was working part-time with this lady. I was working in the call center as well. And in the call center, something horrid happened with me trying to apply for a better position and my supervisors not letting me. So I quit. I went back to my parents' house. I was living with my best friend back then and went back to applying for works inside Upwork. I just continued to look for virtual assistant, data entry, that's another keyword that I used back then, and anything that may land. It was the same deal once more. Getting in every day, looking for a bunch of proposals, creating cover letters, recycling cover letters, and applying. So you can imagine me applying to at least 5 job proposals every single day for a month and a half is what it took me to land my first remote job. And then I believe it took me another month of doing that in order to land my second remote job. So that job, it was not actually a virtual assistant one. It was labeled as a document collector for a law firm in the US. The keywords were data entry and virtual assistant, so that's why I saw the job posting with my current research. The firm was just starting, so they were like, we need people to grow with us. Same thing, matter of numbers, and the fact that my profile in Upwork already had an open job, like somebody had hired me already, and I was making money with somebody else. That made me a little bit more reliable than a person that doesn't have absolutely anything in it. So I ended up working with this law firm. I worked with them for around a month. Then my ticket for my first trip was due and I quit. So I stayed with the part-time job only and I started traveling the world. Let me tell you that that was very delusional on my behalf because I was traveling in Europe. And even though I was budget traveling back then, it was still expensive and having a part-time job was not enough. So I eventually had to stop working with this lady to be able to focus more on getting a full-time job. She left me one of my first reviews in Upwork and I am very grateful for her. Working with her was great. She was an amazing boss and I learned a bunch of things with her. Back then I got COVID, so I had to stay isolated in Poland, I remember very well. And during my COVID time, I was back on Upwork applying to a bunch of new job postings.
Oh shit, here we go again.
I believe that in COVID time, landing a remote job was easier than when I started and easier than nowadays, that the market is so oversaturated. But yeah, it was me applying, and since I already had one review in Upwork, it took me like a week to land a new remote job. It was part-time, it was just data entry, so it was still not good enough for me. So I was still trying to look for something else. And this is another tip or another thing I'm going to talk about, and is reputation. If you're going to start on the path of working remotely or anything like that, make sure to be very responsible, because whatever reputation you create in any of the jobs you land may help you in the future. And that's exactly what happened to me. When I quit the law firm, the attorneys told me that they were grateful for the job I was doing. I was very responsible with it, and also when I quit, I gave a bunch of prior notice, and they actually appreciated this because they were able to find a new person to fill out my role, train them before I actually left. So the attorneys told me back then that the door was open if I ever wanted to go back to the law firm. And I said, you know what, I'm going to give that a shot. In my isolation, I texted the law firm back and I asked them if they would have me back. They did. So they did have me back, and that's the company I've been working for the last 4 years. Right now, I am a project specialist in that firm, which is very similar to a project manager but without the title. The work is good, the payment is good, and it has always been very good to work in that company. When I went back, they knew what my lifestyle was about traveling and all of that. They were very understanding, and nowadays they are very understanding of my traveling days. And maybe you're going to say, oh, okay, but you were lucky to go back. But remember that I had to land a job with them first before I actually had the opportunity of texting them back and asking them to have me back. So like I said before, it's a matter of building up your reputation. Now, is it easier to land a remote job today with AI tools and all of that? Let's check a little bit about it. So like I said, I've been working in the law firm for 4 years, almost 5 years by this point. But there was a point last year where I wanted to change my job. I was moved into a new department. Everything was a mess in that department. I was also having personal issues after going back to Colombia, and I said, you know what? I want to scratch and restart my entire life. A lot of things were going on. So I went back to my safe space, Upwork, where by that point I had already around 2 or 3 reviews from the time I was with COVID and just landing a bunch of part-time jobs or temporary contracts as a data entry specialist. So I was like, I have 7 years of experience. I have reviews. Oh, and another thing that happened is that I had the review from the contract with the law firm. How did I manage that? Upwork has a policy that employees cannot take out their freelancers from Upwork until they reach a 2 years mark. So I had to keep that contract for 2 years before the firm could actually hire me as a remote worker from a contract outside Upwork, meaning that they could end my contract in Upwork so they could leave a review. You could see a 2 years contract in there, a bunch of hours worked, a bunch of money paid, and a 5 stars review, along with the comment on everything I did and how my job was good and yada yada yada. I was like, I'm going to try and land a new job. I must admit that I wasn't as consistent as I was when I started working as a remote worker, but I did send a bunch of applications, not only in Upwork, because after not finding absolutely anything and not getting words back from no one on the first month, I started looking for other remote platforms like We Work Remotely, Workana, and a bunch of those. I was applying for jobs not only as a virtual assistant but also as a project manager, data entry specialist, and I landed absolutely nothing. Eventually things got better and I decided I didn't want to change my job anymore, so I stopped applying to new proposals by then, but it was 2 months of not getting a word back from absolutely no one. Now, which factors do I think helped in that result? The fact that people may think that even with my experience, my fees are too high. And I understand that there are not many people, especially not in this economy, that are willing to pay for that. That made me think that it was easier for me to actually land a job back then and even during COVID than it is nowadays. Again, the market is oversaturated. There is a bunch of people that are getting graduated from university, not landing a job and trying to go through the remote workers idea. So does that mean that there is no hope for you to land a remote job nowadays? Not necessarily, and let me tell you another story. This is not my experience, this is my sister's experience. She also works as a remote worker and as a virtual assistant. This year, my sister sister decided to change jobs because things were not working with her current job. So she went to Upwork first. And she started looking for job postings in there for virtual assistant, other stuff. My sister also has some years of experience. She also has an hourly fee by this point. She was more consistent than I was when I was trying to change my job, and she was actually applying every single day. But she also saw the fact that in Upwork nothing was landing. People were not even getting back to her. So she started looking for other remote platforms to look for remote jobs. Every single remote platform that is out there in the market that does not charge you for applying, because I think that's very unfair that you don't have a job, you're trying to get a job, and on top of this, these platforms try to make a profit out of that. So every single one where applying was actually free. It took her a month and a half to land a new remote job. She was losing hope, don't get me wrong. It was very discouraging. She actually managed to land some interviews, not even from Upwork, but from other remote platforms, but those interviews ended up in absolutely nothing. Back then, I saw a statistic that around 60 or 70%, I don't even remember how much it was, of job postings out there are not real. They are not for companies to get new workers, but they are for companies to A, reduce taxes and say that they are actually hiring new people, and B, study the market of the workers. That was also very discouraging, mind you. But again, it's a matter of numbers. So she kept applying, and eventually she found a company that will hire her for a full-time job, because that was one of my sister's conditions. She didn't want anything part-time. She didn't want anything that did not offer her security. And she ended up finding it. A company that was also willing to pay her what she asked for an hourly rate, which was very good. But it took her 1.5 months with already experience on her shoulders. So now you know the entire story of working remotely, the fact that I still work remotely, I still have a 9-to-5 job. Is it really easier to land a remote job nowadays? Was it easier before? And to be honest, it was easier before. Despite all the tools that we have nowadays to actually have a remote job, not only AI, but the fact that companies already saw that it's cheaper to have remote workers because they don't have to pay for an office. I do believe that it was easier back then than today because the market is saturated. There are just so many people trying to land a job today, a job that pays properly, and companies are not willing to hire. But I do believe that it's easier landing a job without experience than with experience today. Especially because if you're willing to receive any salary in order to get a job, that will make it easier than when you already have a rate. My advice is going to be the same. It's a matter of numbers. So if you're trying to land a remote job, don't be discouraged by this video, because the only thing I'm doing here is being 100% honest with you. So wake up every day, check job postings. Don't marry yourself with only one platform. Send postings every single day, even if the market is hard. Now, there is a thing that is real in landing a remote job, and it's the fact that if you have a particular skill, for example, if you are an engineer and you know a lot of web development, data management, and even social media marketing, those are the skills that are getting needed today. So you have higher possibilities if you develop something like this. So in conclusion, I do believe that landing a remote job was easier back then, but nowadays it's not impossible. It's a matter of numbers. If you're trying to be a remote worker or a virtual assistant, do apply every single day. Have discipline with this like you would with anything in life, and you'll see that you will land a remote job. And once you do, remember to keep your reputation high so you will get more benefits within that company or with that person. Or if you ever quit, you will always have an open door for you to go back to. And that's it. Let me know in the comments if any of you have ever applied for remote work, if you're looking for a remote job right now. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to subscribe so YouTube keeps helping us grow. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all on the next trip or the next video.